Hey guys, welcome to the Put Me In Coach podcast. This is episode 2 of our 32 team breakdown, and today we are doing the Dirty Birds, ATL Falcons.
Yes,
I
sir.
am Ian. This is Andy.
How you doing? How you doing?
Good, brother, good. Um, Look, man, let's just get right into it without further ado. What's going on, man? How are you?
I'm good, man. How are you doing?
Good. You've been putting in the research work on this, I
Boy,
understand.
yes, I've gone into some corners of Atlanta fandom that I don't want to admit. You know, you get down those Reddit channels and you're like, whoa, this
I
is some
understand.
serious. There's some serious emotion in here, right? You start to figure out the psychology behind fandom. I'm
Yeah,
like this with my Lions, right? But I don't care about other teams to that level because how can you? You can only care about really one team to that
yeah.
degree. And so when you start going down these Reddit channels and you're seeing these outlandish takes about the expectations or even the negative, it's like, man, relax. Like it's
It's
okay.
a
It's just football. It's just football.
Yeah, it's a cool fan base though. Like I
It is
started
very cool.
getting into debates about Cousins versus Penix and ended up debating Lil Baby versus 21. And it was just like a weird, it's like, how did I even get here? But I'm
Yeah,
like, it's
yeah,
Atlanta, bro. Like I'm
yeah.
in. The
No,
answer is
that's
future,
facts.
by the way, but it's
Yeah.
all right. We
Oh,
can keep
yes, it
doing this.
is.
Sensational.
Yes, it is.
S- so that's funny. Without getting too deep in the rabbit hole, because I think
Mhm.
when teams have such turnover like this team did, it's not really super necessary to sit there and sort of harp on everything that happened last year. But I do want to touch on kind of how bad last season was, I think, for Falcons fans.
Yeah.
Um, I'm sorry for Arthur Smith. Like it just not only does he seem brutally unlikable, like Josh McDaniels, Matt Patricia style guy, like he mismanaged the talent on this team, I think, greatly. They ran an archaic offense. It was like an early 2000s Gary Kubiak, like naked boots, just like weird, inefficient shit. Running Tyler Algier over Bijan Robinson, just all kinds of mess. Finished 7-10, third in the division, in a division where it was totally winnable for them. Um, so with all the sort of page turning that's happened this year, let's talk about Raheem Morris and let's get into that
Sure.
first. New coach, new OC.
New coach, new OC, new DC. It's a whole new coaching regime, man. And I think that on paper, I'll say, you know, because obviously we haven't really seen it yet. He had a 10-year in Tampa Bay back in the day
Hmm.
that I'll let you touch on a little bit more because I didn't deep dive as deep as you did with that. I think you have a really good
Sure.
take coming on that. But
Yeah.
from the outside looking in, I think the pieces are there. You have a head coach who seems like a really good culture guy. You have an OC who's a McVay disciple, and that seems to be working, right? I mean, pretty much
I love that
any
element of him.
McVay disciple seems to go on and have success elsewhere thus far. Um, you have a DC who was a head coach at Washington a few years ago, who has worked with Morris in the past, so there's a connection there. Obviously, the defensive element of the Rams the last couple of years has absolutely been there. It wasn't just all Aaron Donald guys; they were a good defense, but he
Hmm.
helped tremendously.
Super
So
Bowl
yeah,
win.
yeah, Super Bowl win fully.
Yep.
I think Raheem Morris was on the Atlanta staff when they went to the Super Bowl. So he's not new to deep runs. He's not new to success. And I think with this being his second time being a head coach, coming back to a city where he had success and he was seemingly well liked, I think that gives him a huge leg up. I think the fact that you're it's kind of like when you fail and then you come back and you try again and you knock it out of the park. Like that's kind of what I expect from Raheem Morris.
Right.
It's like you learned, you made adjustments, you went back to the drawing board, you ate that slice of humble pie and had to go back and be a coordinator for, however many years it was. I mean, gosh, 10 years now, I guess. But I think that is what molds great coaches
I
ultimately. I mean, I
agree.
think you
Yeah.
can look at I think Pete Carroll's a really good example of that, as somebody who was a head coach, failed, went back to the drawing board, went back down to college, obviously had like a ton of success in college, and then was able to come back and have a ton of success in the NFL. So it's not
Yeah.
always, it's not always linear. You go in different directions in life, and I think Raheem Morris landed in a really good spot for where he's at in life, where his age is at, where his maturity is at. And I think he's got a coaching staff behind him that he trusts, and that's the most important thing. But tell us a little bit about the offensive coordinator and deep dive a little bit on Raheem Morris's time with the Tampa Bay Bucks, because I know you did a lot of deep diving on that.
I did enough deep diving because one of the things that kept coming up for me with the Raheem Morris criticism, it seems to be like more favorable than negative about the hiring. But I think a lot of people keep sort of hearkening back to this Tampa Bay head coaching stint that Raheem Morris did.
Yeah.
I just want to illuminate things for people a little bit because I think context always matters. I'm by no means declaring that he succeeded in Tampa Bay. He frankly didn't. He had a losing record and got fired. But in 2009, the year before Raheem Morris got hired to be their head coach, this team was like the worst team in football and was trending in like a horrible direction. What happened in 2010 is they hired him. In the 2009 draft, they took Josh Freeman. Josh Freeman was the wrong quarterback. He's just
100%.
was a bust. I mean, he wasn't the worst bust we've ever seen, but he was a bust. He was not a first-round quarterback that ended up panning out to be a success in the NFL. So Raheem Morris had to deal with Josh Freeman. And any coach will tell you, any GM will tell you that driving to the building every day when you have quarterback problems is not fun. So they had quarterback problems. And the other reality of the Tampa Bay situation is Raheem Morris was the youngest head coach that we had ever seen hired at the point that he was hired, right? Since then, it's changed a bit. There are more young guys getting head coaching opportunities. But at that point, it was like, holy smokes, this guy's young. So he was very young when he got hired. He was hired to, at the time, a very bad organization and a very bad roster that was coming off of years of losing. And I think there's another reality to the age thing, and it's also the fact that he was a black head coach. I think that I think it was almost like that thing of like, well, we gave the black head coach a shot and he failed, so you're not getting another job again. And he's kind of been waiting to get a new head coaching job, in my opinion, for a decade. I mean, he had success in Atlanta. Then he goes to Los Angeles, makes a Super Bowl run. The phone's not ringing. So I think that this is a real opportunity for him to show everybody, like, I'm ready now. And what happened in Tampa Bay wasn't my fault, frankly. Nobody could have won there at that time, not with that quarterback, not with that roster, not with that front office. That's my opinion. And as it pertains to the OC, Zach Robinson, passing game coordinator last year in Los Angeles, the reason why I like him so much is because of the McVay factor. The same way that McVay learned so much from Andy Reid, you got to understand that this guy has probably learned so much from McVay being an assistant coach for years. He's going to be able to take that into Atlanta and implement these things, right? You know this as well as I do. Successful head coaches delegate responsibility. So these guys who work as assistants, they know what everything the head coach knows, they know. Doesn't mean they have the same magic, doesn't mean they're as good, but they understand, he understands how McVay's offense works. And I fucking don't. I just see it happen and go, wow, this is a good offense. I don't understand the ins and outs of it. Zach Robinson does. And it says a lot about trust, right? Raheem Morris understands, as you and I understand, that if this fails, he's probably never going to get a head coaching job again, frankly. No. And so to handpick Zach Robinson as the OC and bring him here, it says a lot that this team is ready to make a splash, that Raheem wants to make a splash. And what's funny is, given sort of the style of offense that they're going to run, they actually made 2 splashes, Ron Burgundy style, with cannonball level splashes. You know what I mean? Cannonball! Everybody come over here and see how good I look type of thing. They got 2 quarterbacks this offseason, really. Uh, and I'm really excited about where this offense is going. I know you're really excited about this quarterback
Yeah,
situation. A lot of people are pissed
I
about it,
am.
but what do you think?
Okay, I want Falcons fans to walk with me for a minute because the more I think about this pick, and even in the moment, I honest to God, I liked it. But I want Falcons fans to walk with me for a minute. I understand the context. I understand that you just gave $100 million to Kirk Cousins. That's not lost on me. I get it. It doesn't make logical sense as far as a win now move. Frankly, it wasn't a win now move. It was a let's lock down the next 10 years of our franchise move. And I think that's a lot more brilliant than getting a high-end wide receiver, right? I don't think this is a position. I don't think the Falcons are in a position right this second to make a Super Bowl push. So when I look at the roster they have, and I look at the draft that we just had, I mean, obviously it was like an all-time tackle draft. It was an all-time offense draft. We didn't even see the first defensive player go until 15, right? So you don't have any generational defensive players in this draft, is what the field determined. And that was proven, again at pick 8 when they decided to take Michael Penix. And I know everybody's like, oh, we could have gotten this, we could have gotten that. Okay, but think about it like this. The worst season that Kirk Cousins has ever had is 7-9. That pick right there is the pick you had last year. That's pick 8, right? At best, depending on how schedules fall, how you might have beaten a team, whatever. You're picking anywhere from pick 8 to pick probably 11, right? So let me
At
walk you
worst.
through a list. Let me walk you through a list of names. So since 2010, listen to these names: Tim Tebow, Blaine Gabbert, Christian Ponder, Teddy Bridgewater, Johnny Manziel, Paxton Lynch, Pat Mahomes, Deshaun Watson, Josh Rosen, Lamar Jackson, Dwayne Haskins, Jordan Love, Justin Fields, Mac Jones, Kenny Pickett. Those are all the quarterbacks that were taken after pick 8. So 4 of 15 hit. And obviously one of the 4 is arguably the best quarterback of all time, right? So it's not crazy to
The
get
success rate gets lower after
the
each. So
success
the first pick, the second pick, the
100%.
third pick, the
Yeah,
fourth, in terms of
100%.
quarterbacks, it gets lower
Yeah.
after
I
every
mean, there's
pick.
a lot there's a lot of busts on that list. So my thought process when looking at that is that the GM and the coach and the owner, they all got together and said, "You know what? Fuck it. This is best player available situation. We can have the quarterback. We can get out of the Kirk Cousins deal in 2 years. He's 36, coming off an Achilles. He can stabilize this position for us. He can be
Bingo.
that veteran voice in the locker room,
Which is
and
all he is,
can
by
get
the
it.
way. More on that
100%.
later.
He's 100%.
Yep.
And now I have this guy who, by all means, should have probably been the second overall pick in the draft, but fell to your lap at 8. I understand that he's had injuries. I understand that he's on the older side. He threw for 1,000 more yards than any other quarterback did. He had the second most touchdowns last year. He made it to the championship game. He was first in completions, first in attempts, and he's a fucking baller. And he's been a baller. We have not seen him be injured since he was in Indiana, which was, 3 years ago now? His legs are fine. And you know what's even more fine? His arm. And you got to be able to have when you're a quarterback, you want maturity. You don't want somebody who comes in and doesn't have the mental skills to be a franchise quarterback. So somebody like Michael Penix, who already has maturity, who already has shown that he has a lot of decorum, gets to come in and learn under a guy like Kirk Cousins, who is pretty much known for that. And then after 2 years, you can, if Kirk's not getting it done, you can bounce him out, you save a bunch of money, and you bring in this kid. And you have the established pieces around him. So for all the Michael Lombardis out there who are saying, "Oh, this is such a travesty of a pick, it's not going to work," I don't know. I mean, I like the pick. I think we'll be I think we'll be calling them geniuses in 3-4 years because they will have an established quarter. They won't have to. They have too much offensive and, frankly, at this point, defensive talent to be a top 2 or 3 team, barring some
They're not
injury,
picking
right?
in the top 10 anytime soon.
That's
I agree
that's
with
what
you.
I mean. That's what I mean. They're not.
Yeah.
And they might pick in the top 10, but they're not going to pick at 1, 2, 3, or 4, barring any
No.
Kirk Cousins injury. But even at that point, if Kirk gets injured again, you bring Michael Penix in, and then
Absolutely,
it's
which is very
okay. Well,
possible.
we wasted $100 million on Kirk Cousins, but fuck it, we got this kid on a rookie deal, so it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. So
No.
I don't know. I frankly I think the pick is 5D chess. I think people want the win now pick always, which I do understand. But you gotta be able to see the forest through the trees here with this pick, and you have to look at your franchise and the stabilization it's going to have in 3 or 4 years. So
Right. And
that's my take on it. I don't know, and I
yeah, no, it's a great take. I mean, I completely agree with you. And for as much heat as I catch for telling you guys that Kirk Cousins isn't a star player,
yeah,
you know who else doesn't think that Kirk Cousins is a star player? The
the
Falcons front
Vikings.
office.
Oh, that's
You know,
real.
yeah,
That's
but you
real.
know who
Yeah,
else didn't re-sign
yeah.
him? The Vikings. Look,
Yep.
here's the reality on Kirk Cousins because so much gets mixed up in the hype and the reality versus fiction, narrative versus reality. You guys all liked him on the Netflix quarterback show. I get it.
Yep.
I think he's an incredibly likable guy. He's a Michigan guy where we come from.
Yep.
I always rooted for Kirk Cousins. Even when he was a Viking, it was like, I hope Kirk has a good career. I never wanted to see
Yep.
him get hurt. I never wanted to see him fail like I did over and over and over and over and over again on primetime games.
Yep.
You know what nobody has ever said in the history of watching the NFL? Oh shit, my team just made the playoffs. I'm so excited. However, I'm super deflated because the other team has Kirk Cousins as their quarterback. Nobody is scared of Kirk
Yeah.
Cousins.
No,
He's
not
not
a
a
soul.
star. He's a
No, he's
good
not.
quarterback. He's an
Yep.
efficient quarterback. He has been a starter in this league full time because he played a few years under Robert Griffin. He kind of split time. He played some games.
Yep.
From when he's been a full time starter, 2015 until now, he has one playoff win. One.
Yep. 4 losses.
He has 4 Pro Bowls, so he can have a good season. And if he
Sure.
has a good season for you guys and stays healthy this year, your team is going to be in a good position. So it is a good signing. It's a huge upgrade from the absolute garbage heap that they were trotting out last year with Desmond Ridder, who's not even really an NFL quarterback in my opinion.
No.
Marcus Mariota and Taylor Heineke, right? These guys are
Yep.
backups. So it's a
Yep.
great signing, but you didn't sign Matthew Stafford. You didn't sign Lamar Jackson. You didn't sign this talent of a player that is so good that there's no reason that they can't bring in another guy. And for all the concern with Aaron Rodgers in New York, Kirk Cousins is also coming off an Achilles. Kirk Cousins is going to be 36 years old. And when
Yep.
he was in his prime and when he wasn't coming off an Achilles, all we ever said was, yeah, Kirk's pretty good. I
Yeah.
wish he was my quarterback, but you only said
Yeah.
that if you didn't have Lamar, if you didn't have Josh Allen, if you didn't have Patrick Mahomes. You guys, you're not the Lakers signing Shaquille O'Neal in 1996.
No,
This
you're
isn't
not.
some
No.
blockbuster signing. He's a
Yeah.
good quarterback, but he's not a star.
Yep.
So, in my opinion, Penix was the second best quarterback on a talent basis in this entire draft behind JD5. He throws a better ball than I've ever seen Kirk throw. He's got more upside, and he's not going to be expected to start right away. So this is a win-win-win for you guys.
Totally agree.
So I'm with you, dude. I completely agree, and I'm surprised to see how many Falcons fans are pissed off about this because I think there's just a bit of a confusion, and I blame the media, not you guys, by the way.
Yeah.
They're lying to you about where Kirk is. I've watched him for
Yeah.
10 years. He's a good quarterback. Period. He's a
Yeah.
solid starter.
Yep.
That's what he is. It's interesting because, talking about Penix and talking about Kirk has really gotten me sort of fired up about media narratives. I'm noticing
Of
that this
course.
Falcons team, and Falcons fans, I'm happy for you as the darlings of last year, Lions fans.
Yeah, facts.
It's fun to be the media darlings and
fun.
have the media
Yep.
talking about you. You guys are getting it's getting a little darling with the media with you guys.
Yeah, it is.
Something I'm seeing over and over again that I know already I'm just going to catch a lot of heat for even asking, but I'm going to do it anyway because this is just my viewpoint on watching these guys play. I just said that I don't believe that Kirk Cousins is a star, right?
Yep. Let him have it.
Do we believe, are we sure, because we do believe, but are we sure
Yeah.
that Kyle Pitts and Drake London are stars?
You need to leave.
Ooh. Boy, that's a good question.
Are we
Please
sure?
elaborate. Please
Yeah.
elaborate.
So I did some digging because here's my thing. I've watched this team a decent amount. One guy who I do believe is a star, Bijan Robinson. More on him later.
100%.
I watched them play a lot last year because I was interested in watching Bijan because I loved him at Texas so much, and I was excited to see what he did. I'm glad Arthur Smith got up on out of there. No more Tyler Algier handoffs on 3rd and 8.
Quit playing favorites. You have a star.
Yeah, it's crazy.
What the fuck are you doing? Are you stupid?
Yeah, yeah. So I did some.
Doesn't make
I
any
did
sense
some
to me.
digging. And I think a huge problem with the Drake London Kyle Pitts conversation is the fantasy football bleeding into football analysis as it is on the field. And I love fantasy football. I play it. I love my fantasy homies. This isn't a knock on that. But I decided to use their own game against them. So to determine this hypothesis that I had, which is sort of like these guys actually haven't been that good ever, I did some digging. And according to fantasy football, which, again, is just real counting stats. So I'm using fantasy metrics as a way to organize statistical players in order of how they finished, right?
Sure.
Drake London finished as wide receiver 38 in 2022. That was his rookie year. And wide receiver 37 in 2023. Just for a little perspective, Garrett Wilson last year, who's the same class as Drake London, and also had Zach Wilson playing quarterback, Tim Boyle playing quarterback, a horrible O-line, Nathaniel Hackett calling plays, who the Jets tried to replace this year, by the way. Horrible quarterback situation, horrible offensive line. He finished wide receiver 20. Jacoby Myers finished ahead of Drake London last year. Romeo Doubs finished ahead of Drake London last year, right? These are not guys that we consider stars on any level. Now, full disclaimer, watching the tape, I think Drake London has great hands. I think he's 6'4", and he fucking plays like it. He takes the ball out of DB's hands. He can go up and get it. I think he's a good wide receiver. I don't see star. And the numbers back me up on this. 2 years in a row with late 30s finish overall does not really scream star. Kyle Pitts, another guy who I'm told is this transcendent player.
Yeah.
They picked him at 4th overall
The best we've
3
ever
years
seen.
ago. The best tight end we've ever seen. The best talent. He's 6'6", 250, and runs a 4.4. It's incredible.
That's
This guy
LeBron
can
James, by the way.
This guy can make catches that I have never seen any other tight end make. He made a catch last year against Tampa Bay, I believe, where Desmond Ridder threw a horrible pass on like a drag route, and he caught the ball with one hand behind his back, like not looking, and palmed it. And I was just sort of like, man, this guy makes plays. But I'm told that he's a star tight end. And what's interesting is he actually had a pretty good rookie year. He finished tight end 6 overall, statistically. And then when we talk about last year, he didn't finish in the top 10. So he finished tight end 13 last year. That seems not so bad until you start to unpack the reality that guys like Cole Kmet finished way above him, Jake Ferguson finished way above him, Dalton Kincaid finished way above him. Just these guys that we don't talk about as star tight ends all finished way above him, all had questionable situations, split playing time, missed games, inconsistent quarterback play, bad coaching, all the things that you're going to do, which you're all going to do, which is tell me that Arthur Smith and bad quarterback play are the only reasons that these guys haven't popped.
Yeah.
I'm factoring in all of these things, right? And then he was tight end 33 in 2022. Now, he missed some games, but the games that he played in 2022, he was largely ineffective in most of these games.
Yeah.
And I'm watching this guy make plays because his highlight tape's awesome. Like, by the way, shout out Kyle Pitts' highlight tape. If you're bored ever, go watch it. He makes some great catches.
Yeah.
But I'm like,
Yes, he
what
does.
is this? Yeah, but I'm like, what does this remind me of? Like, what is this giving me? What energy is this giving me? What do I keep having a feeling of? And it hit me. This guy reminds me of Russell Westbrook. Like, he can take the ball coast to coast as a point guard and dunk from the free throw line. And you're like, I'm not sure I've ever seen a point guard this athletic in my entire life. But does he ever make the right pass with 14 seconds left in the game, down 2 as a point guard?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. No, he
Kyle
doesn't.
Pitts, he so often seems to be out of position. He seems to not provide a security blanket for his quarterback. And I know these quarterbacks haven't been good, but every quarterback that struggles tends to rely on tight end checkdowns. He
Yeah.
doesn't really provide that. So my question to Falcons fans and just to NFL fans, and I guess to you, and I'll let you volley it back to me.
Sure.
Am I reaching here, or is there a world where, in fact, the media and the fantasy football community and these people have kind of lied to you a little bit about who these players are and how good they potentially are, and maybe, in fact, they're not just a Kirk Cousins away from being superstar players?
Hey guys, Andy here, just popping in to remind you to like, comment, and subscribe. It means the world to us. Thank you so much.
Curious.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more, man.
Sorry.
I mean, it just
That's a long-winded,
I couldn't
but-
agree more. It's
Yeah.
it's a good rant because in my findings, I don't see them as a quarterback away. I see them as a quarterback away. I see them as a true wide receiver one away. I see them as an edge away, really a whole defensive line, but they addressed a lot of that in the draft, as well
Yeah.
as quarterback, obviously, which we just touched on. So
Yeah.
it's moving in the right direction. But I do tend to agree. I mean, those numbers are numbers. It's not a matter of opinion. And I think this is where we get caught up in the media selling us something for so long, and them just doubling and tripling down rather than just being like, hey, so we got this one wrong.
And I wanted
Kyle
to believe
Pitts,
it too, by the way. I wanted to believe
No,
it
I
too.
did too.
I
No, I
drafted
did
Kyle
too.
Pitts once upon a time.
Same.
I've drafted
Yeah, I
Drake
did
London.
too.
I've watched
I've
the
drafted
highlights.
both of them. Yeah.
Yeah, they're
No, I've
talented
drafted both of
guys.
them.
And by
They
the
are.
way, just full disclaimer before everyone comes at me, these are good players. I'm not calling these
Yeah.
guys bums. They're not busts. They're
No, not at all.
just good players so far.
Yeah,
And sometimes every once in a while they're special, but you know what I've never heard anybody say? Wow, Drake London is torching us. You know what I've never
Yeah.
heard anybody say? Wow, Kyle Pitts, he's right up there with Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews and Sam Laporta even last year.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah,
and
right.
TJ Hawkinson even the year before that.
Yeah.
It's like these guys just haven't delivered yet. And so I just have to leave the door open for the possibility that these guys are in fact not superstars, just so that you guys can potentially take the medicine this year if it pans out that way, which I hope it doesn't, because I would love
Yeah.
to see them take the leap. They got some special talents.
No, I completely agree with you. I completely
Yeah.
agree with you.
Um,
Pitts is interesting. I think there's something to be said, and maybe I'm just reading into it too much, but I want to address it because that's just what we do on this channel. I feel like you and I tend to look at the things that you don't see on the field per se, a lot of the mental stuff, a lot of the up here stuff. I thought it was really interesting that Kirk came in wanting number 8 and Kyle Pitts like wouldn't give it up to him, or maybe like wanted to charge him for it or something like that. And
yeah.
it just seems like a weird situation. Maybe, you know, and I didn't do any like deep diving on this at all. So correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe there's something out there that I don't know. But I felt like that was interesting. I feel like it's not a great start to like your connection with your quarterback. And I get it. You know, maybe you just want to keep number 8. Hey, I've always worn it. This is what I'm rocking with. This is my NFL number. Like, you're going to have to pick something new. You're new in town. And I get that aspect too, but man, I don't know. I think if you're Kyle Pitts and
curious.
if you're
It's
Kyle
lacking
Pitts
in
and you're as
self-awareness.
talented, it is, because it's like
Yeah.
if you're Kyle Pitts and you're as talented as you are, and you have a quarterback who can come in and objectively, like I said, stabilize this situation. I mean, look at what TJ Hawkinson's done with Kirk Cousins the last couple of years. Like, he can make you that guy. If you have it in you to be that guy, Kirk Cousins is a great quarterback to have.
Justin Jefferson, same thing.
100%. You know,
The problem is, and we'll leave it on this note, and then we'll talk a little bit about these
yeah.
defensive guys, because they do
Sure.
have some players on defense. But the problem that I have with this whole idea is that I'm not sure Drake London is Justin Jefferson, and I'm not sure Kyle Pitts is TJ Hawkinson even.
no.
And I'm being sold, and you fans are being sold this bill of goods that these guys are superstars waiting to happen. And as soon as Kirk Cousins takes a snap next year, you guys are looking at 2 top 5 guys at their respective positions. And I'm not sure that I see it. That's my only beef with the whole thing. But I do like them, and I hope
Totally
they get
agree.
better.
Totally agree.
Let's you know, I think we've exhausted this this
Yeah,
whole
right.
situation, but
I think they know
let's-
how we feel about the offense.
yeah, I'm gonna get so much hate for that. I don't care. It's just
Bijan
it
good.
is
The
what
rest,
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Bijan is a superstar, and the rest I'm just not sold on yet.
Yep.
Let's talk about the defense a little bit. We'll
Sure.
we'll we'll keep it a little shorter on them because it's just not as exciting as this offensive situation. But
Sure.
um, is the lack of pass rush as serious as you as sort of it's been made out to be by the
No.
analytics? Yeah,
No, not at all.
talk
Not at all.
about
And
it.
I think that's why I can look back at the draft and go, yeah, okay, Michael Penix, that makes sense. I don't think you need Dallas Turner. You addressed the defensive line in particular, which I think is the weakest unit. You addressed the
Hmm.
defensive line with your second round pick, your third round pick, and your fourth round pick. So that, all you need is really one of those guys to hit, and it makes it a whole lot better. You know, I could see both of these guys, all three of these guys hitting, but two of them hitting, I think you're in a great position. Raheem Morris is known for running his three safety sets. You have
Hmm.
arguably the best safety in the league. You have
Jesse
in
Bates?
Jesse Bates. Yep.
Yeah,
You have a
he's nice,
seventh
man.
round
He's
pick.
nice.
You have a seventh round pick from Alabama last year. I forget his name. DeMarco Helms is his name, and he was a seventh round pick who was the captain of the defense on a Nick Saban led Alabama team, who came in at the end of last year and absolutely balled. He took Richie Grant's job. Richie Grant was a second round pick just a few years ago, who has left a ton to be desired. But I don't think is even a bust. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, Falcons fans, but I don't even think Richie Grant is a bust. I think he's just not like second round pick worthy. But now you have a situation where they're probably all three going to be on the field at one time, and pair that with AJ Terrell, who's probably at worst like the third worst cornerback in the league, or the third best quarterback in the league. That's a really scary secondary.
I love that they have a corner one. That's a huge
You
leg
have
up
to,
for
and
me.
AJ Terrell is
Yeah.
him. Like
Especially
he's
with
so
what Raheem
good.
Morris likes to do, having a lockdown
Yep.
corner. Because
Yep,
I do think they will
100%.
run a lot of man with the corners and then have
Yep.
the safeties run like deep zones and run thirds. And
Yeah,
that's
which
that's
is
going to be
it forces-
interesting.
It forces a lot of dink and dunks. You know what I mean? You're not
Yep.
going to be able to you're not really going to be able to go over the top on these guys. It's just not going to happen. So
Yeah. And the
yeah, I
defense
don't
was
know.
lackluster last season, but they
it
went.
was super lackluster, but I
Yeah.
think they're going to be a lot better this year.
I think so too. They went defense 2, 3, 4, 5. All
Yep.
those rounds they
Yep.
went defense, and they spread the wealth, man. I mean, Ruka Roro we love out of
Yeah.
Clemson in the
Scooby
second round. Yeah,
Doo ass name.
yeah.
Shout out
Scooby-Doo head ass.
River Rouge though. Shout out River Rouge. That's a River
Yeah.
Rouge legend. Shout out Michigan.
Yes, it is Michigan, man. Braylon Trice out of Washington in the third.
Yep. Great pick.
Braylon Doris out of Oregon in the fourth. They got that
Great pick.
Notre Dame linebacker because that linebacker
Yeah.
core is sus.
That's
In the
iffy,
fifth, I think. I think there's a lot of reason to be a little more optimistic about the defense, given the head coach, given the defensive coordinator, and given some of these draft picks. I don't think you're going to
Sure.
see the same lackluster defense you saw last year. I don't.
Nope. I totally agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
Yeah. So
Let's move it over to our X Factor players for this
Yeah.
season. What are you thinking? I know who yours is. So go ahead and deep dive a little bit on that, because we're kind of on the topic right now.
yeah, I think it was interesting trying to figure this out.
It was.
So much has been talked about with the offense. We just referenced him, but my X factor for next season is Ruka Roro. Yeah, Raggy. Sorry, man. I can't not do it. Like it just
Yeah.
sounds like Scooby Doo. But
It does.
aside from that, like there's in the way that he is like Scooby Doo is he has dog in him. This man is
facts.
6'4".
That's real facts.
Yeah, like we can clown him all we want. This man is a dog, low key.
Yeah,
He's
him.
6'4", 294. He'll probably be over 300 pounds by the time the season starts. They took him out of Clemson. I like that. Clemson really tends to deliver consistently on good pros, so I like the Clemson aspect of it. Watching this guy's tape is nuts. It's funny because he just signed his contract a couple of days ago, and I watched his presser, and he kind of reminds me of like Shaquille O'Neal, where he's sort of like this jovial, like nice guy, like off. You know,
Yeah.
he's kind of funny. He's got a sense of humor. He reminds me of like a big teddy bear. But then he gets on the field and he's a menace, dude. I was
it's
watching
pure
this
dog.
guy's tape, dude. There were so many plays where the opposing team would just hike the ball, and when in under 2 seconds, this guy would just have fully flattened to center, and will just be running like loose in the backfield. Like he literally just like pushes guys down and gets a clear path to the quarterback. There was this
Yeah.
play he made against Florida State where they handed the ball off to the running back and they barely had time for the exchange, and the running back lost like 9 yards because he was so far in the backfield, because he literally just pushes guys out of the way. They traded up in the second to get him, so they obviously believe in him. And after watching this guy's tape, dude, I believe in him. I'm like, holy
Yeah.
smokes. I don't think, like, obviously he's going to the NFL and he's not going to be playing against ACC offensive linemen. So there is that element of it. I don't think he's going to come in and be a superstar. But this front seven needs juice. And watching the way that this guy can rush the passer and also stop the run with his sort of lateral quickness and explosiveness and just pure size and strength, I'm super excited to see what this guy can do next year, man. He's got some real elements to his game. Like
Yeah, no, I love it.
He's
I
a
love
bully.
the pick. I love the pick at the time. I feel like it addressed the need that everybody wanted them to address in the first round, but you got him at an even, you got him in this early second. Like, hey, man, those guys hit all the time. Word to Sam Laporta from last year. Like, you can find elite high-end talent at the top of the second round. Jalen Hurts, another one, like they're there. Those guys are there. You can only pick 32 guys in the first round. There's more than 32 good players. So no, I love that pick. I think he's really going to be a dog for them.
Yeah. And who's your X factor this year?
I thought about it and thought about it and thought about it, and I just kept coming back to one name. I wanted to be, in depth about it, but the reality is, bro, it's got to be Kyle Pitts. I need to see this guy take the leap that we have talked about for 3 seasons now. I need him to be, because it's there. We touched on it, the highlight video. It's there, man. It's so there. I know that you can be. I mean, he can be the de facto wide receiver 1 if he really wanted to be. I mean, it's like I said earlier, bro. He's LeBron James on a football field. Like that's
he's a
the
full blown
athletic
power
ability,
forward.
100%. The athletic ability, the fact that he was drafted so high with such high draft capital, I feel like he's just been waiting to break out. And I think this is the staff to get it done. I think this is the quarterback to get it done. I think he should. I don't want to put my expectations like too high for him, but I do think he's got to come up around 1,000 yards this year and have anywhere from like 7 to 9 touchdowns. And I think he's absolutely capable of that, by the way. I don't think that's a reach to say, oh my God, like how can he go from 600 yards and 4 touchdowns to 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns? It's like, well, a new staff and Kirk Cousins being his quarterback. That's how. I love it. He's that good. Be in the right spot. Study. Do what you have to do, and you will, you'll be putting on a gold jacket one day. You have everything.
This is the
there.
year, though. This is the year.
You can't be lackluster this year, or else to me I start using the B word because you were drafted so high. I have to. Yep.
And I think everybody in the NFL is sort of waiting on it this year. I think that everyone's really excited for the potential of that. Let's talk, before we go into our final piece about like where we think this team's going to finish this year. Let's each make a bold prediction kind of for the fans that we, or anybody who ends up watching it. Give me one bold prediction about this team that you aren't really seeing as regularly. Just a bold take. Just give me a bold take about them.
So I'm going on the negative, and I'm sorry, Falcons fans. I have to go on the negative because I'm just seeing so much positive about this team, and I have to just look at what I'm looking at. I have to use my eyes. They're not very good, but you know what? I didn't pay for these babies for nothing. I think this team is going to disappoint this year. I don't think they're a true contender, and I only say true contender because I do. Before you kill me, I do think you guys win this division. It's an easy division. I see the Bucs as a regressing team. I see the Panthers as building something, but absolutely not there yet. And I see the Saints as like just blow it up already.
Just about done there.
I think you're in a prime position to win this division. But where I say you'll disappoint is I think that you guys are also a prime candidate to get bounced in the first round, no matter who you play. Again, Kirk Cousins is never shown to be a guy who can win in the playoffs or win in a big game. I think there's a lot of young talent on this team, and as we've discussed over this last 40 minutes or so, there's a lot of maturing that needs to happen with these weapons on offense. Now, to end my note positively, I do think the defense is going to be a surprising factor of this team this year. So where I look at the media and I see everybody saying, oh my God, this Falcons offense, I look at it and say, I think we might be talking more about the defense and what strides that took and how lackluster the offense is about 8 months from now. I just don't see this team being a playoff ready team, a playoff push ready team. I see them as being a team that can win the division, win 9-10 games, and probably get pounced in the first round by whoever that comes into Atlanta. And hopefully I'm wrong. You know what I mean?
And what do you
Hopefully
have?
I'm wrong,
What do you have their win total at next season, regular season?
I have it at 10-7. I think they can win 10 games. I think they won 7. I think Kirk Cousins, when healthy, is worth 3 wins. I think, like I said, I think that the Raheem Morris taking over the defense and it being more of a defensive structured culture. I think they're gonna be. I think they're gonna be pretty good. I don't think they're gonna be world beaters. I don't think they're gonna be great, but they have a really easy schedule too because they finished. They finished badly last year, so schedule's easier. You bring in a quarterback who's proven that at least during the regular season is a fucking baller, and I think 10 wins probably, 9-10 wins somewhere in that range. Well, what's your bold prediction? Let's hear it.
Well, I'm glad that you went negative because I get to finish positive, which is good.
That's kind of what I was hoping with.
I felt like I poured some cold water on some players earlier. I want to sort of plant the flag on this because my bold prediction next year is that Bijan leads the league in total yardage and is by end of season regarded as the new best running back in football.
Yep.
Dissimilarly to sort of Drake London in terms of talent and Kyle Pitts in terms of like nuance to his game. To me, Bijan has both. When I see him last year, I see flashes of Christian McCaffrey. I see flashes of Chris Johnson in Tennessee. I see flashes of LaDainian Tomlinson. He actually led the team in touchdown catches last year too, so he can catch the ball and he can run the ball. The explosiveness is unreal.
It's unbelievable.
The elusiveness is unreal. He has size, so he's not a small back either. So for him to have that get up and that quickness and still have a little bit of size to him and strength to him, his ability to catch the ball is incredible. He caught a touchdown pass from Desmond Ridder last year that was like well over his head. And Falcons fans will remember this because it was a fun moment last year in a not so fun season. But the ball totally sailed and he adjusted and caught it. Like he has wide receiver capabilities catching the football. I see different with him. I see the way. I mean, you remember how it was in the mid 2000s or late 2000s when Chris Johnson was with Tennessee, and you would watch him and just be like, "No way, this guy's a cheat code." I mean, you remember LT with the Chargers. We just saw Christian McCaffrey the last few years and what he can do. I just think that this is the guy. I love Gibbs. I love Breece Hall. I love some of these veteran running backs still. It's no disrespect to anybody. But to me, I think he's just on another level. And I think this year in that offense, having a competent quarterback, having a new head coach, and not some weirdo trying to sort of stifle, like keep him bottled up and keep him in this weird system, I think you are going to see a true full-blown superstar running back again next year who might not quite be Barry Sanders, but is going to have you hearkening back to Barry Sanders highlights. I fully believe in this kid. I think he's actually truly going to be a superstar. And then, to wrap it up, honestly, I'm kind of right there with you. I have them going 9-8. I think they're going to win the division by a game. I think 10-7 is totally on the table. If you want us to go 9-8, 10-7. I don't think you're going to run away from Tampa Bay. I think Tampa Bay is going to be right on your ass, and you'll pull away at the very, very end. Kind of similar to the situation with Tampa and New Orleans last season, right? They both finished 9-8, but Tampa Bay made the playoffs. I think it's going to be a lot like that. I don't love this division. I think it's yours to lose. I just don't see you as contenders yet, frankly, but I'm really, really excited for your team, and I think that I would just be a little bit careful with some of the Kool-Aid that the media is trying to pour down your throats about how special you are, because I don't know that I'm seeing that just yet. Like live in the excitement of improvement. I'll put it that way, because
Yep.
that's going to be your year next year. You guys are going to be a lot better, and it's going to be a lot more exciting. But I don't see like Super Bowl. I don't see deep playoff run just yet.
Yep.
But I'm excited, man. Like, it's
No, I
cool
am
to
too.
see ATL like coming back, man. The Falcons are a
No,
fun
I am
team,
too.
and it's a fun
Yeah.
fun fan base. So I'm pumped,
Yeah.
man. All right.
100%.
Yeah. Well, look, I think that's kind of where we want to leave you guys. Andy, thanks so much for coming. And
Of course. Always.
leave, subscribe, comment. Like, if you
Comment,
hate what we
comment,
said, if you're a
comment,
Falcons
comment,
fan
comment.
and you like everything we said was a lie, please come in and
Yeah.
just like rip us a new one. Like, we'll get in the comments with
100%.
you. We don't care.
Yep, we sure will.
But just know that we are really excited and we like your team. So like, don't put the hater label on us just yet.
No. Just
but
trying to
thank
be
you guys.
objective and honest. You know?
Go Dirty Birds, man.
Go Dirty Birds.
All right. We'll see you later.